Guys, just breaking up from the newspapers, want to go to New York now. Arash Aramesh is a national security analyst. And Arash, we're just trying to make sense of these strikes that are still ongoing this morning. What do you make of how quickly these have been put into operation and who was involved?
U.S. assets in the region, U.S. naval and air force in the Persian Gulf, in the Red Sea, and also in the Mediterranean, have maintained a high degree of readiness for the past few weeks. Having said that, the U.S. President Barack Obama, finally got the coalition he had sought for. He wanted to build a broad coalition to bring in allies, not just Western allies such as the United Kingdom or France, but he wanted to make sure that Sunni Arab Muslim countries, I'm talking about Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Bahrain, and others were going to take part in this. So it was not going to be just a Western war against ISIS, which is a radical jihadi Islamic Sunni organization. So once the pieces of this coalition were put in place, and once reconnaissance missions for the past 2 or 3 weeks over Syrian airspace were complete, we had good target packages, and we also had a coalition to go ahead and carry these airstrikes against ISIS, mainly in the Raqqa province, which is the capital of the Islamic State in Syria.
Now, tell me about, you were talking about Syrian airspace there. We're told that Syria was informed. Does that mean told? Did they have any choice in this?
Syria was told on Monday, this is according to the Syrian representative to the United Nations, that the United States was going to go ahead and carry these airstrikes with their partners. There are a couple of components here that we have to keep in mind. First and foremost, the Syrian government, when they announced this today on Syrian state TV, they really did not voice their opposition or any opposition whatsoever to these U.S. and coalition airstrikes. So they granted an implicit degree of support for these airstrikes against one of their biggest enemies, that's ISIS, in north and northeast and eastern Syria. On the other hand, by telling the Syrian government that strikes were going to be carried out, and by receiving absolutely no objection over these airstrikes, this granted us, the U.S., and also our partners, a degree of legitimacy and a degree of legality to go ahead with these airstrikes.
Arash, what about the scale of the operation? We've talked about the Tomahawk missiles being involved here. F-22 fighters engaged for the first time.
Yes, F-22 Raptors, state-of-the-art tactical fighters, have been used for the first time. Tomahawk cruise missiles are being launched from both the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. The reason I mentioned reconnaissance missions is for those Tomahawk missiles, you need target packages. These are guided missiles being launched from U.S. carriers or U.S. battleships or destroyers. And for the past 2, 3, 4 weeks, the U.S. has been running these reconnaissance missions over Syria to get these target packages. Now, we got to wait and see how wide, how broad, and how vast these airstrikes are going to be in Syria. But most importantly, we have to see what assets on the ground, what ground forces, what troops on the ground and allies on the ground are we going to use, not to just degrade ISIS, but to finish ISIS off, or at least push them back to such a very low degree of operational capability that they no longer pose a threat to our interests in the region and to our allies' stability and their interests in the Mideast and the Persian Gulf area.
Arash, thanks for your take on things. Got to leave it there. Appreciate your contribution. Arash Aramesh is a national security analyst. He's in New York there, and he's talking about this development, these airstrikes that have been happening while you have been sleeping in the fight against IS.